everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing okay. I'm going to be doing a tag today, so I thought might as well crochet along as I'm doing this tag. So I am working on the mermaid tail at the moment. So yeah, because that is relatively, don't have to focus too much when doing it. I say that now, this is where I make a mistake. This is where I make a mistake doing it, and I'm like, I've nearly just made a mistake there, not realising. First row you don't do, first stitch you don't do as many stitches into that one. But anyway, hope you're all doing well. So this is random rusty Q&A, I believe it's called. And it is a tag. It was going round about a month ago. Obviously just things have been absolutely crazy here, so it's the first time I've actually got up to doing this tag, and I was tagged by the lovely Patricia of Yarny Cat Crochet. So I'll link Patricia's channel and her video that she did in the description box below, and I'll try and tag the original, put the original creator's video in as well, so you can check it out. But yeah, it's just a tag of random questions and not necessarily crochet or craft related, and I think that's really interesting, and I love seeing these types of tags because I love getting to know the person behind the channel, because we all have this similar passion of crafting, but there's a lot more of us than just a crafter. It's like, a pizza, that's one slice of a pizza, but there's a lot more that make up it. So yeah, so I thought I'd give it a go because I thought that'd be quite interesting. So the first question is, besides yarn, is there anything you collect? So I collect a few things. I like to collect postcards where I go on, wherever I get to visit, as it is sort of a reminder. Sometimes as time goes on we can sort of forget about certain things, so I like it as a little reminder. It's a little snapshot, and I have them all stuck up on my wall in my bedroom. There's these cupboards, and the bedroom before it was mine was my younger sister's, and she used to have fabric hung up there, and I decided to stick all my postcards over it because the doors to the cupboards have not actually been painted. I loved the fabric the way it looked, but it was just trying to get things in and out of the cupboards was a bit of a nightmare, so I've chose to just stick postcards on there, and just adds it, makes it look really nice. So that's one thing. I collect King Charles Cavaliers. This was before we had Charlie. Charlie, one of our dogs, is a King Charles Cavalier, and I fell in love with the dog watching Lady and the Tramp, and so I started collecting them, and then we got Charlie. Started collecting them long before I ever thought we'd get Charlie. So yeah, don't worry, Buddy's not completely left out. Since we got Buddy, I got a snow globe which has Bichon freezers in it. So yeah, and then the other thing, very weird thing, but it's so I have autism, and one of the common traits with autism is we have some people call it a specialist subject, others call it an obsession, where there's one thing that we're really in depth, like to learn about, like to do things with it. And the thing I love learning about is the Titanic, and it's something I've always had an interest in. I love learning about the people who on the ship, their stories, and constantly learning, and it is something we're always learning about time and time again. So I have a collection of books, replica documents, all sorts of things like that, things that you can collect, like films and things. My latest find, I think this is the coolest thing of that, right? So, it's a little ship. Looks on the outside like the Titanic, but it looks like a lot of other ships at the time. They all had a similar look. But the thing about the Titanic is At the time, like 4 funnels was the norm of what was on ships, but the Titanic didn't actually need 4 funnels, it only needed 3. So the 4th funnel on the end was a dummy funnel. It never had like any smoke coming out. And this is a candle holder or an incense burner. And yeah, don't know whether you'll be able to tell, but it's actually only got 3 holes. So the 4th one doesn't have any smoke coming out of it, and I thought that was genius. So yeah, that's my latest thing. I'll have to light it in a minute. But yeah, anyway, they're the things I collect. The second question, what is your most prized possession? So, when growing up, I knew 3 of my grandparents. One of my nans passed away long before I was born, like good couple of years before I was born, and it was very noticeable because on one side of the family I even got to meet great grandparents, whereas, you know, on the other side I had one grandparent. So it was always very noticeable. I always grew up hearing a lot of stories and hearing a lot of things about how I was similar to my nan, but never knowing about it. And it's why I was so passionate about learning socks, because she knit socks, and I'll do a video into why I got my bee in the bonnet over really I need to learn how to make socks. But anyway, there was a couple of things that, you know, when she passed away, got handed down to her children, because me and my younger sister were not born then. Obviously nothing got passed in ever relation of thinking going to us, but my dad has handed some things down to us that he had, and one of those things is a ring. You might see me wear it quite a lot. I wear it on a chain because it is too big to go on any of my fingers, and I don't want to get it resized because then it's not my nan's ring, so I wear it on a chain. So it was my most prized possession up until last year. I was telling my aunt about that story, and my aunt said that, you know, she got gifted by my nan, who was her mother-in-law, a ring that had belonged to my nan's auntie as well. And my auntie was telling me she never wears it anymore, so she wanted to gift it to me. So now I have 2 rings that belong to my nan, so they're my most prized possessions. And I've made a mistake already. Told ya, I mean, it should be easy, but I'll make mistakes. Yeah. So number 3, name a book or a movie that is important to you. I have a great love of reading, so I'll probably go for books that really got me into that love of reading. So Anne Frank's diary was a book that really always stuck to me, because like she was still a young teenager when going through all this horrible stuff, and you know, some of the things she was coming out with in her, you know, her diary, like there's a quote where, you know, she says, even with all the things I've seen in the world, I still believe people are good at heart, and you know, things like that. Blew my mind how she was able to look at the world through that way, and it's something I've always strived to be able to do. So that one, and then also Jane Eyre. I read that when I was around, I must have been around 7 or 8, because when I was in year 4 in school, I went for World Book Day. You used to get dressed up, and I got dressed up as Jane Eyre for World Book Day. That book really, I read it and just, I thought wow, and it really sucked me into wanting to read more books. So them 2 I'd probably say, just because they've stemmed my love of reading, and the one's an outlook I've always tried to have. 4, in how many languages can you say thank you? Right, I'm gonna have to do this methodically. I don't think I know that many. Right, so in school I learned French and German. French is merci, German is Dankeschön. Growing up, we went on holiday a lot to Spain, so I learned gracias, or gracias I think is how you're supposed to pronounce it. We try and know some sign language phrases with me because I work in a tourist destination at the moment. I work in a tourist spot, so I know that is thank you in British Sign Language, so I don't know if that counts, but that's for. I've got family members who speak Arabic, and I know that thank you in Arabic is shukran. And then in Welsh, again, Welsh family, that is diolch. So 6 if you include sign language. Number 5, what is the most interesting place you've visited? I'm a very, very lucky person. I've been able to visit so many beautiful places. I would have to say probably Egypt. I think that definitely has to be the top one. We were very fortunate to be able to take a trip to Cairo. We weren't staying in Cairo, but we took a trip to Cairo where, you know, we did see, you know, the relics. We saw Tutankhamun's coffin, you know, that bust that we're all very famous of in the museum, and a lot of other artifacts. I didn't get to see that many because I was really ill on that day we went to Cairo, and that was such, you know, a big insight into seeing they were able to create these amazing, beautiful wonders of the world, like, you know, these big, massive pyramids that, you know, they would just blew my mind. I knew they were big, but it blew my mind actually seeing them there in person. And, you know, yeah, it blew my mind thinking about how they managed to do that so many thousands of years ago. You know, the technology they had compared to us, nothing like what we have today, and yet they have lasted so long and are still in such amazing condition considering what they faced. And nowadays things aren't built like that. And then again, we got to go scuba diving. We were staying in Sharm el Sheikh, and I got to do scuba diving there, and that was just a phenomenal like experience to be able to go and see it, see the fish. And I remember seeing I want to say like it's like a lionfish or something like that. It's this big thing. It's got all these like, it's like stripy bit like a tiger, brown and cream. It's got all these like bits coming off it, like, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's very poisonous. And I remember the instructor was like me, like stop, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And then it started going past. Honestly, it was such an amazing experience, and I'm so fortunate to do that. So doing those 2 experiences, seeing the things that people have created, and then also seeing the natural beauty of the world, phenomenal. So yeah, that one. Number 6, are you a morning bird or a night owl? So I used to be a morning bird. I used to wake up at like 6 AM in the morning, so I'd get an hour to myself in the house before like people would start waking up for school and work and things like that. But now I'm more of a night owl. I'm more likely to go to bed later and wake up later. And I think that again is just driven about that wanting to just have that time on my own to decompress, because now, you know, I live with my dad. My dad's a very, very morning bird. You know, I think it probably stems from his time in the RAF. But yeah, he's always up at the crack of dawn, dead early. Whereas, like, you know, he'll have a bit of an earlier night. So yeah, I normally, the nights are where I get that time alone. It's just me and the dogs. So yeah, more of a night owl now. I think that's why. Yeah, so number 7, tell us about your animal family. So as I mentioned, 2 dogs. We have the Budster, Buddy, who is a Bichon Frise, who's currently eating his paw, which he's not supposed to do. And then we have a King Charles Cavalier called Charlie. He's just stuck his head up. He's like, what? And like wiggling his tail right now. But he's still just munching on his paw. He's just not faced. Whereas Charlie's like, you're saying my name. What's going on? Am I special? So yeah, we have 2 beautiful little dogs. They are our world. They are proper like members of the family. Yeah. And then we have a lot of fish. Yeah, we have 2 fish tanks, and we have some fish in there. I'll have to like go and show you our fish at one point. But yeah, that's the extent of our animal family. We did used to have chickens in my mum's back garden. We had chickens. We got Bessie and Dottie originally. Bessie and Dottie originally. Dottie died within weeks of us getting her. We think she must have caught something. But yeah, so then we didn't want Bessie to be on her own, so we got Rosie and Doreen. And then yeah, they just used to live in the back garden. They were the boss over the dogs. They'd go and sit on the back step, and the dogs would be too scared. So we used to have to scooch the chickens out of the way. But yeah, the chickens were absolutely fab. They're proper little characters. I didn't expect them to, you know, have such big personalities, you know, because I'd never experienced that with a chicken before. Yeah, Bessie used to come, if you were sat in the garden, she'd come and sit on your shoulder. And they'd love to sunbathe in the sun. And yeah, I miss my Bessie. And then Rosie was a little escape artist. She just used to get out everywhere. Someone else was watching them while we were on holiday one year, and they sent us a photo of Rosie climbing up their fence to escape. Yeah, crazy chickens. Number 8. What is a show or movie that you like to rewatch? So I don't really like to rewatch movies. TV shows called Midwife, Downton Abbey. Normally if I'm rewatching a show, it's because it's not airing anymore. Friends, if there's not one on TV, I'll put Friends on. Criminal Minds. Again, that's another autistic thing. Slightly obsessed with that, you know. Watch about 2 minutes of an episode. I can tell you approximately what season it's on, what's going to happen, who the serial killer is, and all this, that, the other, going full depth. And normally an interesting fact. Also, I like The Big Bang Theory. I like to rewatch that. I don't know whether it's because I slightly... I'm a lot like Sheldon a bit, you know. Bit weird, but in a good way. Like, I mean, I've got a spot on the couch. Like, this is... people don't realise it. I'm so much like Sheldon. So, when I'm getting in the car, if I'm sitting in the back seat, if I'm sitting in the back of a car, I have to be sat behind the passenger. I can't sit in the middle, can't sit behind the driver, got to be sitting behind the passenger. And that stems from when I used to go to school, secondary school, so there was no arguing. I sat in the front on the way home, my younger sister sat in the front on the way into school. And when we would, in the UK, we drive on the left. Well, so my dad would pull over on to the side of the road to drop us off on the left, and we'd both get out on the passenger side, and that meant that we weren't getting out onto the road. And ever since then, I can't. I started going to school in secondary school in 2007, and still to this day, I can't sit behind. I'm just like him. And then, like, you know, like with food as well, I've got little routines with food and not this, that, the other, you know. Yeah. I don't like eating somewhere new that I don't like, you know. I mean, like, for example, I like good Chinese. unless it's somewhere I've never eaten before, then no, yeah, no. And then, like, half the time, don't get sarcasm. I think I'm hysterical, other people not necessarily. To be honest, when I'm doing my tours, I've had a lot of feedback saying I'm funny, and I keep saying to my family, I am a comedic genius, they just don't realise it. But yeah, that. And then I do misinterpret a lot of social things, so yeah, maybe that's why I like it. Because it's probably one of the very few characters where I can watch and I'm like, yes, I get you. Number 9, how do you recharge? So other than crafting, how do I recharge? It doesn't say other than crafting, but obviously since I craft, I thought so I like to read a lot. That is something I'm really interested. Like, I can just get lost in a good book. What else? Doing genealogy. Really, that's a good way to recharge, I find. And then probably the third one would be playing on The Sims. Yeah. While my shoulder's been bad. And it's been painful, like, to like sort of craft and be moving it about too much, and when I've like had to sit with it strapped, I've been playing on The Sims, and there's been a new pack released out for The Sims 4, and we finally have horses. Okay. Yeah, that's what I like. Number 10, what was your favourite way to travel? I'd probably say plane, because you get a bit of an experience with it, but then at the same time it's kind of stressful. Yeah, and then you're stuck around, like, you can be on a plane full of people where, like, there's quite a few noise people on there and stuff like that. So maybe a car ride with the family, because normally if I'm going on a long car journey, in the back I'll get myself sorted, I'll get snacks, I'll get things to keep myself entertained, you know, I'll have pillows in there. Yeah, so maybe like that. But then at the same time, train's a good one. Trains are normally really efficient, I find. Yeah, I remember when I used to get the train to and from uni, where, like, my mum used to live further away from uni than what my dad did, and it would take me an hour on a quiet day to get into uni from my dad's, by public transport, by going on the bus with my mum, 20 minutes on the train, and most of the time it'd turn up, you know, so yeah, probably them. Number 11, what are your nicknames? So, just Abby, really. Yeah, I don't really get called anything else. I mean, I get people occasionally calling me Abigail, and I'm like, what? That's not my name. That's not my name. I've never actually, birth certificate says Abby, baptism certificate Abby, everything Abby, my legal name. Yeah, but a lot of people just assume Abigail. I'm like, no. Yeah, and then I have a cousin who's 10 months younger than me, and me and him used to wind each other up all the time. And he at one point started calling me Scabby Abby, so I then went and told my dad, and my dad went, I'll just call him something that rhymes with his name. His name's Josh. What rhymes bad with Josh? I mean, calling him Posh is hardly an insult, is it? Yeah, so I can't remember what I did, but I will have gotten back somewhere, because, you know, we used to do that to each other. Probably put makeup on him, which he used to hate. I'll have done something to get him back. Yeah. I used to be taller than him as well. Now he's a lot taller than me. So yeah, no, wouldn't take him on now. Are you an introvert or extrovert? So I have always been a quieter person. I am one of those people in the group who'll be a bit more quieter until I get to know people. If I'm in a group where I feel really comfortable, then I'll be quite open and, you know, that. But normally, like in a really big group where I'm not 100% comfortable, I will be very introverted, you know, and things like that. I am becoming more extrovert, and my new job that I've got this year really has been helping with that. So I'm a tour guide. I've got to learn to be able to speak to people, and just create conversations with people randomly, and it's really helped me start to come out of my shell and have more faith that I can, you know, do a conversation and not totally misinterpret it. Again, that's losing a lot of confidence with the autism. And when I was diagnosed, there were people who were not very nice who'd play on it and tell me I didn't understand what was going on, to manipulate me into sort of believing their point of view, you know, and things like that. So it's sort of been that, you know, it's that learning to have faith in myself that's sort of leading me to be more extroverted. But then there'll be something that happens that does make me go into my shell a bit still to this day. Like, I was having a conversation with someone, and then there was something they said that someone had told them who we both knew, and it has knocked me for six. And I know next time I'm with that group of friends, I will be a bit more quieter and, you know, introverted, and it'll just be a case of learning to get back open again, but it'll get there. Number 13, what was your first official job? So I've done a lot of volunteering. So since I've been 17, I've always had either a position held down, whether it's volunteering or a paid position, and that's just, you know, because I can't not do something. I've had, like, you know, health issues going on throughout my life. My mental health has been really up and down, and so it's not always been feasible for me to be able to hold down a job whilst doing other things like being in full-time education and stuff like that. But I have had something going on, maybe like where it's voluntary, where, you know, there's not as many restrictions on you with a job. So for example, with my job, if I can't turn up for X amount of days because I'm sick, then they might have to start calling me in and say, listen, we need, you know, to discuss this. Whereas if I had like a really bad episode which could go on for a couple of months, then I wouldn't, you know, with volunteering, they wouldn't have to, because, you know, they're not paying me sort of thing. So my first, sorry about that, it cut off. So my first volunteering position was at a youth club for teenagers with autism. So I attended this youth group when I got first diagnosed, and I absolutely adored it. It really was a godsend for me. And, you know, I still keep in contact with some of the people, some of the staff who, you know, were there when I was there, and then, you know, some of the friends I've made, I still keep in contact with them. And yeah, I used to go to this youth group for a couple of years, and then just before I turned 18, the funding got cut for the youth group, and they used to have two age groups. So they used to have the older one, which was around the age of 16 to, you know, like 20s. Now I started in that group even though I was younger, because I'd have had to have transitioned over pretty quickly anyway when I started there. So I started in the older one, and then, you know, the younger one was from, you know, around 12ish to 15, sorry, 12ish to 16. And when the funding got cut, they could only keep one group going, and it was deemed that the younger group needed the more support. They needed it more than what the older group did, most of whom had been going, you know, for years and years, had gone from the younger group to the older group. So when they switched down to just the one group, I got asked if I'd come in and be a volunteer to help with the younger group. So that was the first ever position I ever did. It was working there, running workshops with the, you know, teenagers, and, you know, playing games, you know, stuff like that, helping people out and stuff, and it was absolutely amazing. First proper paid position that I've had was when I got the job this year, and I am a tour guide. Number 14. If money was no object, how would you spend your day? I'd love to go for a spa treatment. You know, I think, you know, love to go to spa treatment, go and lounge at a pool. You know, I think that'd be a really lovely day. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'd pick right now. Get a lovely massage. Yeah, that's what I do. Number 15, if you became ruler of your country, what would be the first law you would pass? Don't know. That's a bit of a tricky one. I think, right, it'd probably be clamping down on tax evasion. It sounds stupid, right? But that's something that really gripes me. I'm trying also not to pick something that, like, I know is, like, you know, gonna cause loads of controversy here, you know. Make sure I also pick something a bit mild, because this group, like, this channel's not where I go political or things like that, you know. It's fun, chilled, and obviously politics causes a lot of arguments at times. But anyway, yeah, I think tax evasion, like, because as my dad says, there's 3 things certain in life: birth, death, taxes. We all have to pay it, you know, whether you're on a minimum wage job all the way up to you're earning billions a year, you have to pay taxes. And the people who tax evade are the ones who normally have quite a bit of money, and, you know, these go on things that we all use, like bin collections, you know, filling in potholes in roads, and, you know, all stuff like that. You know, it's a fact of, like, you know, we've got to suck it up, buttercup, you know, get on with it. We don't like it, but it's, you know, it's not the end of the world. And I'm thinking, if you can spend thousands of pounds on, you know, getting lawyers to open up dummy accounts and different countries, getting things registered here, there and everywhere, so you don't have to pay taxes. If you've got enough money to be able to do that, you can afford to pay the taxes, you know, and still have a comfortable lifestyle. So yeah, that's probably the one thing that I'd probably do. Name something you're proud of. So I'd probably say it's, so, like, as I've said, my mental health has been up and down since I've been a teenager. I went through a lot of trauma as a teenager, and it really did mess me up to the point where, you know, it is going to impact me for the rest of my life, and there are things that I'm going to, you know, that are always going to be there. And it did get me to really low, rock bottom places. I mean, the fact that my community mental health team are not that great most of the time didn't help, to the point where I actually got hospitalised for 2.5 weeks. So, you know, it did really, like, you know, get me down and that. And I was finally getting to a place, like, I'd managed to go through, to fight for years and years to get therapy, because the mental illness that I needed the therapy for, I don't really want to disclose what it is, just because there is a lot of stigma around it. But anyway, this one that I had to go to get therapy for, there's no medication licensed for it, but even still, it was a nightmare to get them to stop, just put me on loads of sedatives and just to refer me to therapy, which is what you're supposed to do. I had to fight really hard to get that, and I eventually got it. And I started actually doing well for the first time in my life. I was able to, you know, get by on a day-to-day basis, do okay. I was able, you know, to understand the emotions that I was going through and process them well, you know, and deal with the issues that I had going up to it, the point where it wasn't impacting me on a day-to-day basis. And then I went through something that was, again, another really traumatic incident. I will just go dark, but it'll just be for a minute. But long story short, I was a victim of domestic abuse and sexual assault, and I ended up fleeing my partner at around 3 a.m. in the morning. We were in Great Yarmouth, and I had to get back up to Liverpool, and I ended up fleeing him there, and, you know, getting back. And to be honest, that you know, on that train ride home, getting home, I did just, you know, think, what's the point in sort of like keep fighting this mental health if, you know, there's always gonna, when you finally start doing well, you get something that knocks you back like that. And I decided, I said, no, I'm not gonna let him knock me back. I'm not gonna let him send me 10 paces back when I have come so far. So, you know, I really, you know, focused on trying to get through everything I was going through, because I reported what had happened to the police. And I don't know whether you know, but while the police were ongoing their investigation, I could not actually get any mental health support for it, because if it went to trial and if I had to give testimony, then his defence team could argue that my testimony had been tampered with by discussing it with others, and it had been, you know, influenced. And so, you know, you can't actually access any support or anything like that. So I was like, right, okay, got through it. I managed to get through the whole investigation without I'll say major blips. Like, obviously there was still times where, you know, I was, you know, really low, but, you know, never to the point where I felt as dark as on that train. And I got through it. I did therapy, started my therapy last year, and I completed it this year, and I just think of how I've come so far from that. You know, there are still things that, you know, there will always be things with that, you know, it's too much to do. But I'm at the space where I am doing really well. You know, I can, you know, look at pictures of, you know, when we were together, and because he came to my sister's wedding, you know, when pictures have him in there, you know, I can look at them pictures now without, you know, going into that fear place and things like that, and all those memories suddenly coming back. You know, I've even been able to start going on some dates, you know, and felt enough to put them boundaries in. So yeah, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, is, you know, not letting him send me too far back. Obviously it was going to impact me, but yeah. And I've just finished a row, so perfect timing to finish those questions. This has probably gone on for a lot longer than what I hoped for or expected to. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little video that will be going up on, this video I'll put up tonight on Thursday, and then I'm hopefully going to film a craft catch up tomorrow, and then on Monday the video, sorry, hiccup, on Monday the video I'm going to film next will go up, and that'll just explain everything that's been going on over the past few weeks and why I've not put up any videos. But yeah, I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Let me know what you've been working on while I've been rambling on away. that is. I do end up rambling, but yeah, let me know what you've been working on, and let me know if you've done this tag before. If there's any questions you think, oh, that's quite interesting, feel free to answer them in the comments, because I'd love to hear them. But yeah, if you've done it, this video, let me know, because I'd love to see it. But yeah, hope you're all having a wonderful day, taking care and staying safe, and I'll speak to you all, well, tomorrow will be when you next get a video. Bye.